أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم أفضل الصلاة والسلام على حبيب إله العالمين وشفيع المذنبين المحمود الأحمد المصطفى الأمجد أبي الزهراء محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، ولا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين، سيدنا ومولانا وإمام زماننا وولي نعمتنا الحجة ابن الحسن المهدي فداه أرواح العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين الغر الميامين المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، سادتي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. For the hastening of the reappearance of the 12th Imam, please raise your voices with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We are in need today and more than ever to turn to our religion and look back at the teachings of the Quran, the Word of God, and that of the Prophet and his immaculate household. How was it possible for the Holy Prophet, roughly 20 years, 23 years, to turn the Arabs, who were, to say the least, Bedouin people, who happened to slaughter those people, used to slaughter their own children? Think about it. Talk about terrorism. Talk about the likes of ISIS. They would kill their own children, be it both girls and boys. Girls, they would simply bury them because they were helpless. They needed boys to turn to armed men because they constantly had wars. And as for the boys, they used to kill them as a sacrifice for their idols. They wanted to seek closeness to those things, the stones and the sticks and the dates that they had created as idols and worship. They would slaughter their children so that they seek closeness to them. And the Holy Prophet, in less than 3 decades, he changed them. He transformed them from vicious animals to proper human beings. How was that even possible? One of the significant and most important factors were the manners of Rasulullah, his virtues and his moralities, his akhlaq, his manners. Most probably all of you have heard of the two famous tribes, Al-Aws and Khazraj. So there were two big tribes in Medina, and they had this ongoing battle that had drained them. 200 years, imagine, for 200 years, they had this war between each other. And so they were running out of men, literally. And they would seek help from other tribes, from other towns and cities and places. And one day, one of the members of one of those two tribes, he comes to the city of Mecca seeking help and aid from other tribes. He comes to Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah. He says, we need you, we need your help. Abbas said, no, enough headache we have. We simply, in this specific difficult time, we can't help you. Why? He said, there is a member of our tribe who claims that he is a prophet. Who? Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He's claimed that he's a prophet, and so we are preoccupied with this trouble. We don't know what to do with him. And all our small young members of our tribes are following him. And so they have betrayed or abandoned all the idols and whatnot. And then they said, Abbas said, of course back then he was a mushrik, Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah. He said, beware of drawing and going close to this man. He said, okay, where is he? He said, he is next to the Kaaba. Rasulullah is next to the Kaaba. So just stay away from him. Keep distance from him. He said, but I can't. Why? I've come to Mecca. A person who comes to Mecca needs to do the circumambulation or the tawaf towards the Kaaba. So I have to go there. He said, okay, but put some cotton in your ears so that you don't hear what he is reciting, what he is doing. Okay. So he starts doing the tawaf. But then he started thinking to himself that if I go back, my tribe are expecting that I bring members of people of Mecca so that they help us. But I'm going to say that I couldn't. Why? Because there is a man claiming that he's a prophet, and so they are preoccupied with him. They're going to ask me about that person who claims that he's a prophet. What is his message? What does he claim? So what is he telling people? I can't tell them that I don't know because I simply put cotton in my ears and I didn't hear his message. So he said, you know what, this is nonsense. He took him off. He went straight to Rasulullah. The Prophet was sitting in Hijr Ismail, for the ones who have gone to Mecca. Hijr Ismail, next to the Kaaba, where Prophet Ismail and Hajar are buried in, along with 70 other prophets. So he comes to him. He starts off, he sits next to the Prophet by saying, An'am sabahan. Apparently it was in morning. So he said, good morning. An'am sabahan. The Prophet looked at him and he said, Allamani Rabbi khayran min hadha. My God has taught me better than this. So it's a good way to greet, right? But I know something better. Salamun alaykum. Peace be upon you. When he heard the word peace, he thought for a second that this is exactly what we are in need of. We need peace. 200 years we don't have peace. Peace? Salamun alaykum. Wait a second. Tell me. Preach. Inform me. And so Rasulullah started reciting some of the verses. One of the verses was this. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Treat your parents in a good way. Honor them. Respect them. Interestingly, when it comes to respecting parents, Allah has made this bond, if you like, the attachment between His right, haqqullah, and haqqul walidain, and the rights of the parents. The hadith says that if a person tries to give God His right, but then abandons the rights of his parents, Allah does not accept what he gave in God's cause. Why? Because there is a bond, there is an attachment between the two. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Of course, Rasulullah continues, أَلَّا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُم مِّنْ إِمْلَاقٍ. And so recites these verses. He says, you know what? I'm convinced this is what we need. Brothers and sisters, what we need in this day and age is to go back to these virtues, is to refer back to the teachings of the Holy Prophet, the Prophet of Islam. This is what we lack nowadays. We might not know it, because if someone is in a state of ignorance, he might not be aware of what he lacks. But this is what we need. The manners of Rasulullah, the teachings of Rasulullah. So for a couple of minutes, I want to talk about respecting parents. And inshallah, later on we'll talk perhaps a bit about Rasulullah, because this night is dedicated and belongs to Aliyun Al-Akbar, the one who resembled Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. As Imam Hussain said, أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا ومنطقا برسولك. Most resembled the Prophet, both in his physique and also in his manners and in his akhlaq and the way that he used to talk. وَمَنْطِقًا بِرَسُولِكَ. To the extent that Imam Hussain says that whenever we missed Rasulullah, whenever we wished we could see him, we would look at Aliyun Al-Akbar alayhi salam. Perhaps that was one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell the enemies of Imam Hussain on the Day of Judgment. You claimed that you followed Rasulullah. This is the resemblance of Rasulullah. Aliyun Al-Akbar. We'll put this for aside. So in regards to respecting parents, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has this word in the Quran that says وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. The Imam explains what this word means. So what is ihsan towards the parents means? The Imam says that you need to be so respectful towards your father and mother, to the extent that you do not, or rather if you know what they want from you, you need to make sure you do what they want before them telling you. So again, you know that your father wants you to come along with him. Don't wait for him to ask you. I mean, think about it today. How far are we from religion? And this is really unfortunate. He's at home alone with his father and mother. So he's the only son. Yet he has this banner, the sign on his door, saying that don't enter, knock the door. So he's literally saying that you're not allowed to enter my room, to his father and mother. And then he becomes distressed and he becomes perhaps sometimes angry or sad, and his father needs to come and please him. Why? Wallah, he forgot my birthday. Why? He forgot to give me a gift. And so we've got it again all wrong. We need to know their rights. How and to what extent we need to be respectful towards them. So there is a hadith by the 6th Imam. Just before I mention it, please recite aloud salawat. So these are examples how respectful you need to be towards your parents. The Imam says, لا تملأ عينيك من النظر إليهما إلا برحمة. If you want to cast your gaze, if you want to look at your parents, don't do that except with love and compassion. There's another hadith parenthetically. I'll mention it in Arabic and then I'll try to translate it. The Imam says, من نظر إلى والديه نظر ماقت لهما. He sees his father or his mother in a bad way. In a bad way. Right, you would say, it's obvious. No, the Imam continues by saying, نظر ماقت لهما وهما ظالمان له. So there is this situation that the father has oppressed his son, he's done something wrong towards him, you are not allowed to look at him in a bad way, even though he has oppressed you. Don't look at him in a bad way. And that applies to the mother also. You know what happens if you do? God forbid, لم يشم رائحة الجنة. If you do that just by staring at your parents in a bad way, even if they have oppressed you, you don't even not only enter paradise, and not only you don't get to see paradise, you don't even smell the scent of paradise. The scent of paradise. So perhaps that's a metaphor, or no, that is the case, because there is a hadith that when paradise is beautified on the day of judgment, its smell, if you like, goes 500 years ahead. 500 years. And so everyone in the judgment day, they get a chance of what paradise is by smelling its scent, except for two people, one of which is a person who has displeased their parent. To what extent? To looking at them in a bad way. You're not allowed to do this. That is not your right. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. You need to be respectful, no matter what. In fact, the hadith says that there are three things that are unconditional. No conditions whatsoever. No regulations whatsoever. No terms whatsoever. What is it? One of them is being respectful towards your parents. Whether, the hadith says, whether they are good and they are obedience to God, barrain kana aw fajirain. Even if they are fajirain as in fasiq, they've gone astray, you need to be respectful. They don't believe in God, you need to be respectful. You need to be respectful. One day, a man comes to the Holy Prophet and he says, Ya Rasulullah, I migrated for your cause. I migrated so that I follow you and I become a Muslim. But you know what, Ya Rasulullah, I came and I left my parents crying. They're mushrikeen. They worship idols, literally. Ya Rasulullah, I came to you, I came for your cause, for the sole purpose of following you. You know what Rasulullah said? Rasulullah said, go back to them and make them happy the same way that you made them sad. You're not allowed to make them sad. So what do you mean if they, God forbid, they don't believe in God and they want you to come along with them? Is that the case? Obviously not. إن جاهدك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما. You are not allowed to obey them when it comes to shirk. But you also are not allowed to displease them. So you need to be so respectful, utmost respect. In fact, the hadith says a person converts to Islam, he comes to the sixth Imam, he says, my mother is perhaps she was a Christian. The Imam says, make sure you be respectful even more than you were before becoming a Muslim. And so this is the case, it's a long story. So the Imam says, one, do not cast your gaze upon them except with love and compassion. He's hitting you, slapping you in the face, so be it. You need to be respectful. That's one. Two, ولا ترفع صوتك فوق أصواتهما. Don't raise your voice above theirs. But they've oppressed me. They don't understand me. Who cares? That's not the case. They're your parents. Three, ولا يديك فوق أيديهما ولا تتقدم قدامهما. If your father is walking, your duty is to make sure you're walking behind your father. Know your limits. Unfortunately, this is something that nowadays, it's a norm. He's walking in front of his father. Disrespectful. He's telling him to come. No. He lies on his father. And so the Imam says, don't raise your hand over their hands. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, if I'm not mistaken, they once asked him, they said, you don't too often visit your mother. Why is that the case? Excuse me, they said, why don't you eat with your mother? He said that I fear, look at the respect. I fear that we're sitting down and want to eat, and I take this piece of food that my mother had her eyes on it, so she wanted to eat it, and I put it in my mouth. So I displease her to this extent that she wanted to have that, to have this piece of food. So that gives you an idea how much respect we need. Of course, we've been told, warned on one side, and given that great news, if you please your parents, what happens to you in life? I've got so many, at least there's 4 stories that I can mention, but I want to move on. I'll just mention one. So we had this teacher, may Allah be pleased with him, he passed away. He said that one day we went to Hajj, and so we were in a caravan. I was the one who preaches and guides and tells those Hujjaj, the pilgrims, what to do in Hajj. He says that I witnessed this young man. He was so spiritual. He was so connected to Allah that you wouldn't expect from a normal mu'min. So he says this was the case throughout this trip, the spiritual trip. When we were traveling back, going abroad, where we came from, my seat, the number of my seat was next to him. So I sat next to this young man. We started talking and conversing. One of the questions I asked him, I said, Alhamdulillah, you had this very spiritual status that many of us sometimes unfortunately lack. Everyone comes, they weep, they cry, but you would find some, they aren't able. There has to be a problem, and I need to eliminate that problem. Is it money? Is it prayer? Is it something else that is keeping me away and detaching me from Imam Hussain and from crying over him? Anyway, so he said, I asked him, why was this the case? He said, Shaykhana, because you were our preacher and our guide, I will tell you. Otherwise, perhaps I wouldn't have said it. I am not a very, very religious man. Alhamdulillah, I pray, I fast, but I'm not so religious. What you have witnessed was because of a dua, of a prayer from my father. He prayed, and that was given to me through my father's prayer. He said, what? How? He says that I study in a university. Back in that country, for you to be able to enter university, it's a very, very difficult task. Very difficult. You need to go through these very hard exams that perhaps out of 100,000, only 1,000 will pass that test. So it was very difficult. I wanted to go about doing that exam, or he had entered university. Anyway, so he says, we have this father. Our mother has passed away, and we are 4 brothers. Every day, one of the brothers comes, attends, and takes care of our father. So our turn comes in every 4 days. The day that it was my turn to stay with my father and take care of him, I needed to go and to do that test. So it was a vital test, a very, very important test. It draws my future. If I fail, if I don't attend, God knows what's going to happen. So I really, really needed to go and take that test. But again, on the other side, I needed to stay with my father. Okay, I took my phone, called my older brother, Majid, for example, his name is Majid. Please come today and I will take your turn because I've got this test. He said, no, unfortunately, no can do. I've got work, I can't come. Okay. I called my other brother, he said the same thing. The third brother, the last brother, he said, look, I can't come, but it's okay. Go take that test, come back, inshallah nothing happens to our father. I mean, how long is it going to take your test? 1 hour? 2 hours? It's okay, just go and come back. sometimes those tests are very subtle. You need to open your eyes. You think it's normal, but these are tests. And maybe these tests, they draw our future. And so he said, okay, you know what, I'll just go. Inshallah, nothing happens. But then I came back to my senses and I said, but what if something happens? He's an old man. At least if he needs something, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Don't force them to ask you. This is their right. And so they said I was in this very difficult dilemma, very difficult situation that I really didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, I remembered the case with Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, that he said that I am at a crossroad and I need to make my decision. Is it dunya? I won't say it's hell. Is it dunya or is it akhirah? Which one do you want to choose? الدنيا والآخرة ككفتي ميزان, the hadith says. It's like two sides of the scale, dunya and akhirah. Sometimes you need to make that decision. Am I doing this for dunya or is it akhirah? So he said that Allah inspired me, guided me. He said, you know what? The hell with university. The hell with my interests. The hell with that test. I will stay with my father. It was difficult, but I will mention this, brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, these nights are passing by. We need to get the most of these, of the inspiration that we need. One scholar used to say that when it comes to good things, when it comes to ibadatullah, when it comes to worshipping Allah and making those right decisions, generally speaking, it's only the first step that is difficult. Put this in your minds. Inshallah, it'll be helpful. The first step usually when it comes to doing good things is difficult. The subsequent steps, the steps that come after, they're all ease and comfort. On the contrary, when it comes to doing vice, when it comes to doing wrong, committing sins, the first step is always desirable, it's nice, it's beautiful. يُزَيِّنُ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ وَأَعْمَالَهُم. But the subsequent steps, they bring misery, they bring problems. At least they bring sadness. And so the first step, when it comes to good, is hard because again it's a test. The second step is good. And I mentioned this to one of the friends who had converted to Islam and to becoming a Shia. He said, subhanAllah, that was the case for me. The first step was difficult, but Allah then gave me Anyway, so he said, I made my decision. I'll stay with my father and I'll dismiss everything else. He says days passed. One day we were sitting along with the rest of the brothers, eating with our father, when one of my brothers, he asked me, he said, Fulan, for example, Hassan, what did you do that day? You said it was you wanted to go, and I looked at him, I said, shush. Our father is in our presence. Don't mention this now. I don't want him to know about it. So he says, my father looked at me and said, what happened? I said nothing. He said, no, tell me. He insisted. I told him what happened. When my father heard this, that I took the decision of staying with him as opposed to going, he became very pleased and happy. He said, may Allah give you what's in your heart. That's it. He said, may Allah give you what's in your heart. There's a hadith in this regard, that when you honor them and respect them and they do dua for you, this is the fastest response that you will be gaining and achieving. So he said, when he said this and he prayed this dua, I felt this feeling within me that now whatever I ask Allah, Allah will give me. And so I asked for Hajj. Again, in that country, it's very, very difficult for you to go to Hajj. You need to write down your name and wait for at least 10 years in order to go to Hajj. He said that this dua from my father happened a few months ago. Allah gave me Hajj. How? I don't know. And what you saw from me was because of my father's dua. Go tell them. Tell them, do dua for me. Do dua for me. And you will see the results. Of course, if you can give them a helping hand, if you can please them, wallah, you will see the results. You will see the results. Both in this world, in this life, and also in the hereafter. A hadith by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he says that if you want to be with me in paradise, birra abawayk, birra walidayk. Make sure you please them. I have a friend that every month when he receives his salary, the wage, he takes out this money, he goes to his parents, he opens his hands, he says, Mom, Dad, take whatever you want. Take whatever you want. Sometimes they might take and sometimes they might not. You need to please them to the utmost extent. However you can. Kiss their feet. The hadith says by the Holy Prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallu alayhi wa ala aswatikum. He says that birra abawayk, you need to visit them, help them, give them aid. Even if you had to travel 2 years, back then it was very difficult to travel these long distances. They say that for some people, if they wanted to go to Hajj, they had to travel for 1 whole year. 1 whole year to go to Hajj. The Prophet says that even if you need to travel two years to visit your parents, so be it. Visit them. And look at the case nowadays. You tell them how long has it been that you haven't visited them, and they live in town. He says 3 months. His grandfather, his grandmother, they don't visit them. Brothers and sisters, sil rahimak, sil rahimak, sir sanatan wa sil rahiman. So this hadith goes like this: sir sanatan wa sil rahiman. Sir sanatan as in travel for 1 whole year and visit a relative of yours. Again, it's unfortunate to hear. He's got his brother, his uncle, his nephew, whatever. And it's been like 2-3 months they haven't visited them. Why? Why? This is not religion. So the Imam says, Sir sanatan, sil rahiman, 1 year, visit a relative, and sir sanatayn wa zur walidayn, or sir sanatayn wa birra walidayn. Travel for 2 years and visit them. Your father happens to be abroad, go visit them. Why does it have to, go 6 months and 7 and 8 months for you to go visit them? Unfortunately, some even years, and they don't visit them. This is an opportunity. With 1 dua, they can change your future. Wallah, with 1 dua. You can't take that phone and call them. The phone that you have in your hands 24/7. Call them, text them, send a message to them. First and foremost, your parents, and then the rest of the relatives, your uncles, your aunties. This is again a duty. This is religion. This is an obligation. The hadith says that the rahim is the kindred. A rahim is attached to the throne of Allah. معلقة بعرش الله. تقول إلهي صل من وصلني واقطع من قطعني. The kindred says, Ilahi, whoever has maintained, observed, hasn't cut this kindred, this relationship, oh Allah, maintain your rahmah, your mercy upon them. But whoever has severed the severed this relationship between their relatives, oh Allah, cut off your mercy from them. Sil man wasalani وَاقْطَعْ مَنْ قَطَعَنِي. Again, we need to talk about these things. It's an opportunity. The school of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain. Only 2 more nights. I had a number of points that I wanted to mention, but I'm running out of time. So this is Rasulullah. This is the akhlaq of Rasulullah. One man says, I wanted to kill the Holy Prophet in a battle. A long story, I'll cut it short. He says that I wanted to kill him. I came to him. I had my sword in my hand. I wanted to come and strike him when I saw this aura of fire surrounding the Prophet. So I couldn't come closer. I knew that the Prophet, there is something preventing us from killing him. I wasn't able to do so, and I just stood. I just came in this situation that I couldn't move. He says the Prophet started coming towards me. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. All of a sudden, the Prophet extends his hand and he wipes his chest with his hand. He says, when Rasulullah did this to me, again to give you an idea of the akhlaq, the manners of Rasulullah, how much we need these akhlaq. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. This is what we lack nowadays. Now especially, everyone is looking at us. Islamophobia, you've got terrorism, you've got the likes of Saddam and Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden. We need to show the proper, true face of Islam by reflecting the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so he says, when Rasulullah did this to me, he wiped his hand over my chest. He was my number 1 enemy that I wanted to kill in my priority list. When Rasulullah did this to me, subhanallah, it changed 180 degrees, to the extent that if someone wanted to touch a strand, a hair of Rasulullah, even if it was my father, I would have killed that man. This is how much I became attached and in love with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he becomes a Muslim. One day Rasulullah tells him, perhaps his name was, anyway, I forgot his name. He says that one day Rasulullah said to me, he said, Fulan, X, you, on that day, you came, you wanted to do something. Imagine. He didn't say that you wanted to kill me, harm me, do anything. He said you wanted to do something. Something. He doesn't rub it in your face. Again, this is akhlaq of Rasulullah that we need to learn. In fact, traditions tell us that Rasulullah, once he becomes angry, he would just turn his face and go. That's it. That's it. So Rasulullah said you wanted to do something, and God wanted something else. He didn't say that I wanted something else. You know how sometimes shaitan comes and we brag about doing, I did this and I established that, and who's I? If it wasn't for God, Ya ibn Adam, as the hadith says, أَنَا أَوْلَى بِحَسَنَاتِكَ مِنْكَ, I am more worthy of your good deeds than you yourself, because I guided you, I inspired you. And so Rasulullah said, you wanted something, and God wanted to guide you. God wanted to guide you. He doesn't attribute it to himself. And so I had brought some traditions to read about akhlaq Rasulullah, but inshallah you will follow it up. One day Imam Hassan says, I asked my uncle, because this uncle Hind ibn Abi Haleh, he was able to describe in a very intricate manner things and people. He says, I asked him, how was the akhlaq of Rasulullah? How would he come inside his home? How would he go outside? How would he enter? How would he talk to people? How would he converse? It's a very, very lengthy and also very, very beautiful hadith. I really genuinely encourage you to read this hadith. And so he says, how would he stand up? How would he sit down? How would he sleep? Very beautiful hadith. Inshallah you will follow it up. I'll cut it here. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, as we mentioned on the eve of Ashura, even though he knew everyone will get killed, but he tried with his companions. He said, you don't need to stay. One by one. In fact, he said, every one of you, my companions, take the hand of one of my family members and leave me. Leave me alone in this desert because they only want me. We mentioned this. But he said, leave one with me. Just one person. Who? Aliyun Al-Akbar. The Imam was so attached to his son, Aliyun Al-Akbar alayhi salam. And perhaps it was because of his attachment and affection towards Rasulullah, his grandfather. I want Aliyun Al-Akbar to be with me. Of course, they all remained. But then again, they say on the day of Ashura, some, like Al-Qasim, when they sought permission from Imam Hussain to go and to be killed, Imam Hussain would not allow them. At least some of them. Some of them, initially, he didn't give them permission. Like that small boy, like Al-Qasim. But they say Aliyun Al-Akbar, the first time that he came and sought permission, Imam Hussain said, go. Why? Because he wanted to give in the way of Allah what he most wanted and loved, Aliyun Al-Akbar alayhi salam. One day, they say that there was this man, he was Christian, he came to the mosque of Rasulullah in Medina. He said, yesterday I saw Jesus in my dream. And Jesus said that after the prophethood and after the prophets were sent after me, of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you need to believe not only in me and the predecessors, all the prophets that came before me, but also in Rasulullah. So you need to bring faith in Rasulullah. The same way that a person who is Jewish and Prophet Isa is sent, he needs to believe in Prophet Jesus. He also needs to believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says, Jesus came into my dream and he said, you need to believe in this man. Who is he? He said, I saw Rasulullah in my dream. He said, believe in him. So I said the testimony. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That was in my dream. Now I came. I want to see Rasulullah and I want to bring faith in him. They said, Rasulullah has passed away. It's been more than 50 or 60 years that Rasulullah has departed this world. He said, oh, okay. He became sad. But then Imam Hussain came to him. He became a Muslim. And then Imam Hussain said, if you see Rasulullah, would you know him? He said, yes, of course. How can I forget him? I saw him in my dream. So glorifying. And so Imam Hussain ordered for his small son, Aliyun Al-Akbar. Back then, perhaps he was 4 or 5 years old. He ordered for Aliyun Al-Akbar to come. His face was covered. He uncovered his face. They say that when this man saw Aliyun Al-Akbar, he fainted. He fainted. Imam Hussain said, spill water on his face. He woke up. Then Imam Hussain said, this man said, his face is so glorifying, so this and that. Imam Hussain said, I have a question. If this boy was your son and a thorn penetrates his foot, what would happen to you? He said, I would die. Sayyidi, I would die. He said, well, let me tell you what's going to happen to him. And so he started telling him. Imam Hussain knew what will happen to him. This is why they say when Aliyun Al-Akbar sought permission, Imam Hussain didn't say anything. He raised his hands. You know what he said? He said, Allahumma ashhad ala ha'ula'i al-qawm faqad baraza ilayhim ashbahun nas خلقا وخلقا ومنطقا برسولك. Oh Allah, bear witness who is coming towards those enemies and who those enemies want to kill and shed his blood. أشبه الناس خلقا, the most person resembling Rasulullah both in his physique and in his akhlaq. ومنطقا برسولك وكنا إذا اشتقنا إلى رؤية رسولك نظرنا إلى وجه هذا الغلام And then Imam Hussain, one of the times that he cursed his enemies was in this situation. He said, Ya Umar ibn Sa'ad, qata'a Allahu rahmak kama qata'ta rahmi ولم تحفظ قرابتي من رسول الله. Imam Hussain was sitting on his horse. They say the wife of Imam Hussain, the mother of Ali Al-Akbar, her face towards Imam Hussein's face, and Imam Hussain is looking at Ali Al-Akbar, when all of a sudden Imam Hussein's face's color started changing. She said, Sayyidi, hal asaba waladi makruh? Has anything happened to my son? He said, no, but someone has charged at him who is very brave, and I fear that he will be the one who will kill him. If you want him alive now, go back to your tent and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She goes to her tent, she unveils, she takes off her hijab, she raises her hand. إلهي يا مخلص الجنين من بين فرث ودم يا راد يوسف إلى يعقوب. Oh, you who brought back Yusuf to his father Yaqub. إلهي بغربة أبي عبد الله. It's the 9th night, brothers and sisters. She said, Ilahi, by the loneliness of Abi Abdullah, bring back my son. طبت الخيمة هالغريبة وتشتكي لله بحبيبة يا راد يوسف عن مغيبة. إلهي بالحسين وش ما بي مصيبة أريد علي سالم تجيبه. Imam Ali Al-Akbar alayhi salam all of a sudden shows up. He's coming towards Imam Hussain, and he has the head of that enemy who was a very brave man, but Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam managed to kill him. He came to his father, he threw the head, he said, Aba ya Hussein al-Jaiza. Father, I want the reward. What do you want, waladi, son Ali al-Akbar? He said, Aba al-Atash qad qatalani وثقل الحديد قد أجهدني فهل إلى شربة من الماء سبيلا He said, Subhanallah, he wanted water from Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain said, go and inshallah Ali, your grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa will give you that water that after it you will not become any more thirsty. Ya boy انفطر كبدي وحق كبدي يا بويا انفطر كبدي وحق جدي العطش والشمس والميدان والحار. Some say that he felt sorry. Why did he tell his father that I am thirsty? Now he will be concerned. He will be more worried. And this is why when he went, all of a sudden Imam Hussain hears the voice of his son. هب عليك مني السلام هذا جدي رسول الله قد سقاني بكأسه الأوفى. Someone strikes him on his head. So he holds the neck of his horse. Usually when they do that, horses take them back to their camp. But they say that the blood of Ali al-Akbar flowed on the eyes of the horse. Instead of taking him back to the camp, he took him towards the enemies. فقطعوه هربا هب عليك مني السلام. I am sorry, I can't say this in Arabic. جاء الحسين عليه السلام ألقى بنفسه لم يهدأ قلبه، جلس عند ولده لم يهدأ قلبه، تمدد عند ولده ما هدأ قلب إمامنا. تدري ما الذي فعل الحسين؟ وضع فمه على فم ولده ونادى ولدي على الدنيا بعدك العفا، رجوتك يا علي تعيش بعدي وتوسد جثتي رمسا يا الله، وتمشي باكيا من خلف نعشي كما يمشي الوليد، كما يبكي الوليد على الفقيد. وزينب قابلت ليلى وقالت أعيد النوح يا ليلى أعيدي على حلو الشباب وبدر تم شبيه محمد خير الجدود. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق محمد وآل محمد، صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل لوليك الفرج يا الله. أرنا الطلعة الرشيدة والغرة الحميدة، اكحل نواظرنا بنظرة منا إليه. إلهنا بإمام زماننا اشف مرضانا، فك أسرانا، اقض حوائجنا، اغفر ذنوبنا، أحينا حياة محمد وآل محمد، وامتنا ممات محمد وآل محمد. إلهنا بجاه الحسين لا تفرق بيننا وبين الحسين طرفة عين أبدا يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أرحم الراحمين. تقبل منا هذا القليل بأحسن القبول. ارحم اللهم موتانا وإلى أرواحهم وأرواح موتى المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي لهم ثواب مجلسنا هذا مع الفاتحة قبلها صلوات.